Over the weekend in Moore County, North Carolina, someone or some group of people essentially went around shooting guns at 3 substations for electrical power throughout the county, initially knocking out power for over 40,000 people. As of Monday morning, there's still roughly 30,000, give or take, people still without power. And at this point, officials are saying that they're likely going to be without power until at least Thursday of this week. There's been a ton of theories and ideas being thrown around on Twitter and other places surrounding what is actually going on here, who did this. I'm going to go through some of these, but first I'm going to go through a timeline from The Pilot, which is a local newspaper in the area, to give everyone an idea of everything that unfolded throughout this absolutely chaotic weekend in Moore County, North Carolina. We'll pull up that on the screen. At approximately 8:45 p.m., outages were reported across the southern end of the county. We scroll up here a little bit. At 9 p.m. on Saturday, a district representative for Duke Energy, the energy company in question here, told The Pilot late Saturday that at least 2 of the company's substations were vandalized. He said he did not know the extent of the damage or how it occurred. Fast forward to 10 p.m. Saturday, emergency scanner traffic reported several explosions heard in Carthage, which is a location inside of the county here. By 10:15 Saturday, in a text message to a reporter at The Pilot, Chief Mike Cameron of the Southern Pines Fire and Rescue Department confirmed that substations had been shot at. He said the agency is, quote, preparing to be out of power for 24 hours. So pretty early on, they knew that shooting at the substations was involved. By 10:30 on Saturday, heavy police presence around several gun shops and Walmart in Aberdeen around 10:30 p.m. after reports of looting. So there was looting and whatnot going on in the area. Folks responded to that. 11:48 p.m. on Saturday, the Moore County Sheriff's Office has released a statement saying that it is investigating incidents at multiple electric substations in Moore County that were shot up on Saturday night as a, quote, criminal occurrence. It seems like more than a criminal occurrence that someone is shooting at multiple power stations, but that's just that's my opinion, I guess, causing more than half of the county's electric customers to lose power. According to the press release, shortly after 7 p.m. Saturday, quote, as utility companies began responding to different substations, evidence was discovered that indicated that intentional vandalism had occurred at multiple sites. Moore County Sheriff's deputies and other law enforcement agencies within the county responded to the different areas and are providing further site security. Midnight Saturday, a reporter on scene at the Duke Energy substation off North Carolina 211 near West Pine Middle School could hear and smell oil leaking from the facility. We'll keep scrolling up. 7 a.m. Saturday, the gate to the West End substation off North Carolina 211 near West Pine Middle School is lying on the side of the access road. A pole holding up the gate had clearly been snapped off where it meets the ground. And then as we kind of go further and further here, it's just kind of more updates of power being restored to folks, small bits of information. But up until this point, right, this happened Saturday night. As I'm recording this right now, it's the middle of the day on Monday. There is no public information out there yet as to who actually has gone through and committed this. Now, to get to a couple of the theories that are kind of going on right now, and some of these definitely have some merit to them, I'm going to update exactly what was going on Saturday night in Moore County. There was actually, believe it or not, a drag show happening that was a big deal in this town. This is a small town, and there were lots of protesters. There were lots of people in support of this drag show. Let's just pull up another article here from The Pilot. So the headline, controversial drag show ends early following power outage. 6 hours after blocking off downtown Southern Pines for the town's annual holiday parade, police returned to the blocks surrounding the Sunrise Theater to prepare for a drag performance show that had generated significant protest and controversy in town and on social media. The drag show, which was scheduled for 7 p.m. but did not begin until 7:40 p.m., was scheduled as a fundraiser for Sandhills Pride, a local nonprofit supporting the LGBTQ community. The show originally allowed for children and teenagers to attend, but following angry protests online, the Sunrise and Sandhills Pride announced that only individuals aged 18 and older would be admitted. The drag show came just a couple of weeks after the shooting rampage at Club Q in Colorado Springs, which had been scheduled to host a drag bunch the following afternoon in observance of Transgender Remembrance Day. After that attack, Sandhill Pride began discussing its own upcoming drag event at the Sunrise Theater. Security was tight around the theater Saturday afternoon. The town had approved 2 permits for protests, one on the opposed to the drag show and one for supporters. Opponents gathered and staged their protests at the downtown train station across the street from the theater. You can see the photo there. They have everything blocked out. This was clearly a big deal in this small town for this to be going on. There was a Facebook group in the area that is of more far-right folks who are very much against all of this kind of stuff that the far-right folks are against right now. Drag shows, anything having to do with LGBTQ rights and things like that. And I'll get into this in a second as we go through this Twitter thread here. There's kind of a lot going on, so I just want to make sure we get it all out there before kind of getting into this here. We're going to open up this one Twitter thread that I think does the best job of kind of tying the drag show into the other events and, you know, showing that while there's not necessarily a direct link right now, there's definitely a lot of questions that need to be answered to rule some of these folks out as a suspect, or to, you know, potentially incriminate them. Who knows? Again, this is all to be determined. It's currently in law enforcement's hands and the FBI's hands, and at this point, they've released absolutely zero information as to who has gone out and taken this attack on. Again, this is a big deal. It's not like they shot out like one power box or something like this. This is 3 substations that took out power to 40,000 people, including this town where the drag show is going on. So let's take a look at this thread. So the beginning of this thread here from Alejandro Caraballo is stuff that we've already kind of talked about here. It has been confirmed by local law enforcement that at least 2 power substations were damaged by gunfire. A gate in front of one of the power stations was destroyed. We read this just a second ago. We read about the explosions being heard. This right here, the tweet where it says, Emily Rainey, a local extremist who allegedly participated in the January 6th insurrection, posted this. On one side, it is a photo of her Facebook post saying, "The power is out in Moore County, and I know why." And on the right with it is a photo of the Sunrise Theater where the drag show is occurring, and the text saying, "God will not be mocked." Emily Rainey then claimed law enforcement arrived at her home and questioned her, likely for posting the prior posts stating to know why the power was out. Unclear if she has any actual knowledge or connection to the perpetrators. In her post, she says, "The Moore County Sheriff's Office just checked in. I welcomed them to my home. Sorry they wasted their time. I told them that God works in mysterious ways and is responsible for the outage." So she's essentially saying that she knew God was going to make this happen. Seems a little suspect to me. We can go a little bit further down here. The next tweet says, extremists around the country began celebrating and endorsing the attack on power substations as it resulted in the cancellation of the drag event. On the bottom here, you can see this tweet from Sarah Fields. Breaking, a quote, family-friendly drag event in Moore County, North Carolina was canceled due to a massive power outage. Reports are now coming in that the power substations were damaged with firefighters. So lots of folks who are against these drag shows going on are coming out and celebrating this. Again, this doesn't necessarily directly say, hey, these folks did it, but it definitely is, there's some motive involved here, right? The last one that I'll kind of pull up here, in the days leading up to the event, organizers of the drag event received death threats but vowed to continue on regardless. Proud Boys and other extremist groups threatened to protest and disrupt the event. So again, I just want to be clear, there is not necessarily a direct, like, yep, these folks definitely did it, but to not look into them would obviously be a big mistake. We'll see if ultimately this is what played out, but there are a couple main takeaways here. You know, part of it related to the drag show, part of it just like forget about the drag show and that tie into this whole thing. But there's a couple like major glaring problems with all of this. Starting with the drag shows, the protests at drag shows are getting absolutely out of hand. The fact that people need to be like afraid to go to events like this is ridiculous. So, you know, at first this started off as a family-friendly event. So if folks on the right care about parental rights as much as they say they do, parents have the right to take their children to this if they want to. If you don't want to take your children to it, stay home. Like, it's not that difficult. And this was changed to an 18+ event. Are you against folks above the age of 18 having the freedom to do what they want to do? Are you against drag queens' right to freedom of speech? Sounds like it to me. If you don't want people to go to that, people need to get over this. Drag show, this isn't even new. Drag shows have been going on for a long time. This isn't anything that started in 2020 or 2010 or 2000 for that matter. It's just a weird thing to get hung up on, in my opinion. Second major thing here that is a big red flag to me is that if it was this easy for these folks to just shoot at some power stations, this is clearly a huge, huge, huge vulnerability for the United States. Anyone can just walk up to a power station, shoot at it, and potentially coordinate with a couple of them and knock out power to tens of thousands of people, 40,000 in this case. I mean, this is a terrible situation for these folks. There's clearly a lot of elderly folks who I'm sure have medical devices that they need. The weather is very cold in North Carolina right now, from what I understand, so people's homes are probably getting pretty chilly. This is a big deal. People will die as a result of this, especially on the medical device front, because they're not going to be able to get access to the services they need. The hospitals are running on backup generators, so much smaller capacity. Only like the top issues are being resolved at the time. So this is a huge vulnerability. Like I know, I see power stations all over the place, and it's not like there's any security around them for the most part. There's a fence, but like you can shoot through a fence with a gun, obviously, and I'm sure, if you know what you're doing, you can probably hit the correct part, which is, it seems like these folks knew what they were doing to have this shooting at the stations take until Thursday to be solved. So this is a huge, huge vulnerability to the United States. And is this like a trial of something larger? Imagine getting more folks together to do this at multiple stations at the same time, and how long it could potentially take to do it. Maybe have it happen in a bigger city. This isn't good. This is bad. And then the last thing, why is this not being called a terrorist attack? This is clearly terrorism. You're purposefully taking out power to thousands and thousands of people, and we're calling it vandalism? Like, vandalism is like graffiti, right? Vandalism is like kids like TPing someone's house after Halloween. Vandalism is like scratching someone's car, not shooting out power stations that take out power for tens of thousands of people. Like, even the media is not calling this terrorism. On like CNN and all these places, this is not being described as terrorism. When, I think I'm not alone in this. This pretty much feels like terrorism to me. We'll ultimately see. The FBI is now involved. But man, they better figure this out quick, because if we don't know who is going and shooting at power stations in the United States, taking out power to tens of thousands of people, this is bad stuff, and we need to figure out how to prevent anything like that. Forget about the drag shows for a second. We need to be able to prevent something like that from happening at mass scale ever. We'll ultimately see what happens here. The police are currently investigating. Your guess is as good as mine as to who is responsible here. But clearly a lot going on in Moore County right now. Hopefully they're able to get the power back up soon so that folks there can get their lives back to normal. And we'll definitely keep you updated if more information comes out. Definitely make sure to subscribe to Status Coup down below. Click the bell for notifications as well. If there's any news on this, we'll definitely be covering it on our live stream. Tonight it'll be Ron and Tina on there. You can also follow me on Twitter at LewisD217 for more updates. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.